You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey, look, happy Monday. So we have special guest tonight. My friend Marcus from our accounting department. I thought he wanted to join us and maybe talk a little bit about the game there. How you doing there, Robbie?
I just wanted to show up and let you guys know that I'm not going to be able to make tonight's show.
So clearly, Marcus might be a 49ers fan. Okay. Now, I wanted to bring him in here. Obviously, he's all in his Niners gear today. And I wanted to bring him in here because obviously Marcus and I won't be able to speak to each other this week. And I hope I don't have any accounting issues I have to discuss because they're just going to have to wait until next week. All right, for me to do so. But this was actually John's idea, to be totally honest with you. John says, "Oh, you know what we should do? We should have Marcus." He saw Marcus all decked out here in his Niners gear, so we should have you open the show with us.
I appreciate it.
Remind everybody, Amy's the boss. Get your paperwork.
Yes, seriously.
So, thank you, Marcus, for being a good sport.
Let's just kick the award-winning Robbie while he's down.
All right, now you can get out, Marcus.
See you tomorrow.
Good game, Marcus. Good game.
Likewise.
That's awesome. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, so
John,
that was a good one, buddy. That was a good one. That was actually a John brainchild. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't even think of it.
Every Dynamite
He
book
goes,
I read,
we should have Marcus come in before he takes off today.
every Dynamite book I read for the next 3 weeks is getting a negative review, and Nick can blame it all on you guys right now. Okay, so there you
The
go.
only Cowboys I
Hey,
want
wait, the thumbs down went up.
I know.
Wait, what happened?
The only Cowboy I want to talk about now until next season is the Lone Ranger. And when am I getting more?
Yeah, send me an email.
Hey, everybody,
So-
we're having a little fun today.
so-
Robbie, thanks for joining us. Well, he's leaving now. But
But all joking aside, man, that was you guys got an interesting off season, man. I don't care what Jerry Jones says.
Hey,
It's
man,
gonna be
this is a cliche thing to say, but I'm actually proud of my Cowboys this year. I thought after game 1, our season was done. And so to have this ride, to have this emotional roller coaster, I've enjoyed it. I've had fun. Yesterday's game was very heartbreaking, 2 interceptions. But when Tony Pollard sprained his ankle, I was like, it's over. It's over. Yeah, I was like, it's over. So it is
it broke, right?
Did it break?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Is it broken?
It's broke. So that's really interesting for Pollard as well, and the Cowboys because he's a free agent. So obviously, from a personal perspective, he's not going to be able to try out for other teams or whatever. And then for the Cowboys, you got a pretty big decision to make here. Do you release Zeke? From what I read, if you don't release Zeke, that's an additional 4.5 or 5 million that you have to absorb on the cap. If you get rid of them, it's like they've got like 11 million plus on the cap. If they keep them, they've got like 15 plus million on the cap. So what do? Clearly, Pollard was a workhorse this season. Okay, so I don't know about that. And what do you do about Dak?
I mean, we're stuck with Dak, but there's got to be some changes in the consistency with Dak, because it's ridiculous to have the most interceptions and you have missed 5 games. You know what I'm saying?
It's not a good figure. I mean, that goes without saying. I don't know. I think, what do you do? I mean, one of the articles I read today brought up an interesting point. Jerry Jones is not a young man. So is he going to completely go into a win now kind of mode? Not that he wasn't trying before, but now you can feel Father Time kind of knock on the door. So do you go with win now? And if you're going with win now, you got to get rid of Zeke. I don't think you keep Dak. Okay. You
it
cut your
depends
losses.
how much merch they can make in the T-shirt where he's got the sad face and it just says "I'm not that good." If they can sell $4.5 million worth of that merch, then it's all math, right?
I mean, Dak is on at the beginning of a really hefty contract, right? So I think we're stuck with Dak for a minute. But what I do want to see is I'm tired of these sleep number commercials with Dak, because the commercials like my most important stack is my sleep, and apparently whatever mattress they gave him for that sponsorship ain't working, and he needs to focus on some other stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me ask you a question. What do you do about McCarthy?
You know how I feel about McCarthy.
I know you're not a big fan. I mean, you got to say that what's good. What I felt good about game beyond Dallas losing, obviously, but was San Francisco wasn't exactly blowing them away. I mean, Dallas had an opportunity, and once again, you got to look at McCarthy and his game management and time management. I was pretty sorry.
Yeah, I have problems with Mike McCarthy, and I think we're stuck with him because I think Jerry Jones likes him, and I think Jerry Jones cares more about liking someone on a superficial, like Southern bro kind of way than a good football coach. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but
well, that tight end of yours too. That was 2 critical mistakes on that final drive.
You talking about Schultz? Yeah.
Yeah. That was, the first one, not knowing a rule about moving forward to get out of bounds. And then the second one was not dragging that second foot.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got one question, then hopefully we can get to showing some comics. If Bruce Wayne were to buy a football team, which one would he buy? And would he move them to Gotham City?
Probably the Raiders, right?
Yeah, he'd buy the Raiders and move them to be the Gotham Knights.
The Gotham Knights, yeah, because in the comic, Gotham has a football team. It's the Knights.
There you go.
Knights.
So the answer is yes, he would.
All right, so.
Well, I'm trying to think of some.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Speaking of Bruce Wayne, we got a Batman book.
Ew, I'm going to step out. I don't need that.
Cover art.
Tons of Batman for you.
Oh, yeah, CCA and Batman. You might as well throw
Lyle Hobson, yeah, right? Snowshoe racing. Is that exciting? John Spilios, I'm not going to MegaCon. I don't. Nick, is anybody going? I don't think so. Right?
Know.
Yeah, I don't think we're going, my friend.
I didn't know I changed my name to Zenick. That sounds a little European.
It's Zenick. The Z is silent.
Zenick.
I think there should be an apostrophe in there if it's Klingon. I take the C out.
They face off against the Metropolis Sharks. Wait, wouldn't Shark be Coast City Green Lantern villain?
I'm trying to think. I used to know the name of the fictitious sports
Am I getting
team.
too much in the weeds?
Oh no! When you go to the fan trivia contests at cons, all kinds of stuff. There's Smallville people.
Oh, you know what? Actually,
who did
Metropolis would probably have the Zods, the General Zods.
Kneel before halftime.
Kneel. All right. Let's get selling comics.
No worries, John Spilios.
Gotham Goblins. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, Lyle Hobson's sport is like the Iditarod, right? He lives in the North Pole or something.
I agree with Preston. Never apologize, John Spilios. No worries, brother. Never apologize.
I regret nothing.
There you go. That's the attitude. So yeah, I mean, I got to be honest with you, buddy. You guys got a lot of stuff that you're facing in this offseason, my friend.
I love that Rex is just eating this up, man. The first thing I said at the end of the game last night was, you know what? It's okay. We got further than I thought we would, but Rex is not going to let this go tomorrow. So,
Hey, the Giants, they got a lot farther than anybody thought. Okay.
Who's the producer tonight?
Jay.
Is it
Our
Jay?
buddy Jay, yeah.
I was saying, you better hope Jay is not like We've been
No,
off
if
the air
Jay-
for
if-
like 10 minutes.
If Jay were a Dallas fan, he would have said something long before now.
It would just been
No
a test pattern.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he would have said something. We'd have like the Dallas star
There-
flashing across
There
the
must
screen.
be a problem in Mount Laurel. Not sure what's going on.
So yeah, Tom Bishop, what's going on, man?
There's
All right.
a ton of Cowboy fans in Mount Laurel. There's a ton of Giant fans in Mount Laurel. I watched them get humiliated.
Giants fans make sense. Okay, Giants fans make sense only because of proximity we are to New York. So most people that live in North Jersey tend to be Giants fans.
Yeah, and people in South Jersey tend to be
Eagles fans. Nobody likes the Jets, unfortunately. Well, few oddball people do, but then you feel bad for them. What's up, Jay?
When you get to a real sport like rollerball, let me know.
Rollerball.
Yeah, I'm like I said in the comments, I'm a yay sports ball person.
Sports ball
y'all
person,
are good.
yeah.
Y'all are good.
Yeah, I kind of figured. All right, so John's got a question for us. Do we think that Brady comes back to the Bucs? I'll be honest with you, John Spilios, and I hate to break your heart, but I do not know.
No, I think he's had about enough of getting knocked around.
He's not. I don't think he's done with football.
No, but he'll
go somewhere else. Yeah,
he'll go somewhere where they've got 17 or 18 offensive linemen desperately ready to block.
Yeah, that doesn't exist in today's NFL. But no, John, I don't think so. I think every signal he's given says that he's not coming back. You don't want it back. I don't blame you. I can't put it all at the feet of Tom Brady this year for the Bucs, though, John, because they really stripped him of all of his weapons. Okay, I think so. Preston, my fear is Tom Brady signs with the Rams. Oh man. But yeah, so it's I think the Bucs have a challenging year as things shift. Listen, look at it this way, John Spilios. He brought a Super Bowl to the Bucs. Okay, so there you go. But ultimately, I don't think so. Brady to Dallas, that's an interesting concept, isn't it?
I think we kind of had our chance there for like a few years ago, right? Before he went to the Bucs or something, there was like he was up in the air. They thought maybe we'd go, but we re-signed Dak or whatnot. So I don't know.
Well, as you say, they've got so much money tied up into him. I don't know that they can necessarily effectively get out of it. I think Zeke's gone though. I really do.
Yeah, I think that's for the best because Zeke's fine when I don't want to keep talking about football because this is kind of painful for me right now. But Zeke's the guy when you need a yard, he can get it for you like 80%.
He's trying to make a point. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Robbie.
I was just saying Zeke's the guy that if you need a yard, he will 80% of the time be able to give you that yard. But most of the times you need more than 1 yard. You know, if there were 10 downs to get a first down, then yeah, that'd be fine. But
well, that's the problem. Brady to Cleveland, that'd be interesting. Zeke to the XFL. Kyle, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if Dak's got the yips or what. But like that one interception, he tried to force it in there, and that looked like it was going to be a touchdown. I have to admit the game was closer than I thought it was going to be. So I was surprised by the Bengals win. CJ Design. So I was a little bit surprised, but they were playing some pretty bad conditions of snow all over the place. So that was interesting as well. So all right, you know what? Let's get the best offer real quick because we only have one for the night. It is Deadpool #1, CGC graded, guaranteed 9.8. Suggested retail of $99.99, and it is a best offer book tonight, starting at $50.
this one must be brand new, just out the package because this that's your turnaround time, right? This book came out like 3 months ago. So
pretty much. I mean, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
give or take. I mean, we do send them a lot of stuff, obviously, for our website and our other sales that are involved. Yeah. So I'm not actually involved in that. So I see them when they come back. So I don't see what gets sent out to CGC to get graded. So, but all right. So as always, I'm going to throw this out here as well. We have the Dynamite 10-pack reader set, 10 random Dynamite titles. $3.99 cover price, so $40 retail or higher. And as always, as a thank you to our viewers, we have it for $5 for the 10-pack, so 50 cents a copy. So you really can't lose there. But Yeah, so it should be interesting. I mean, I'm looking forward to what was reassuring is the Niners didn't look that good. Okay, I think
you wait till Marcus leaves to say that.
Oh no, I'll say it to him tomorrow. You think I'm joking about us not talking to each other? But they really didn't look that good. I mean, you guys had chances to win that game. But, with Dak and his 2 INTs plus McCarthy and his fumbling and bumbling, the guy's really bad at clock management, dude. He's brutally bad. And that's cost you guys games because right up until the end, you had a chance. You really did.
Yeah, we did. But I don't like Mike McCarthy. I've been saying it for a while. I think we need to get rid of him and actually get a real coach. But we're not going to get a real coach till Jerry Jones is out of the picture. So.
Yeah, well, that might be true, but that's a damn shame because you know what? There are a lot of coaches out there this year. All right, you got Sean Payton, you kind of flirting around with it. All right, but I don't know that it worked for Dallas because the Saints have made it very clear they want a first round pick.
Yeah,
to go with that, and I don't think Dallas is in any position to be giving up more picks at this point. So Kyle says Mike McCarthy to the USFL as well.
Yeah, I second that. Let's do it.
Yeah. Clearly, his years of success with the Packers was more, Aaron Rodgers than anything else. So, what is John reading over there? What are you reading, John?
Yeah, and can we just I want to take a moment to be like, John, good to see you. Good to see you, John. I feel like I haven't done a show with you in forever.
Yeah, I think like the last 3 times I've seen Robbie.
Yeah, you didn't come back until Wednesday.
When I watched his show. That's
right.
my contact with Robbie when I watch his show, which incidentally, folks, is way better than
Hold
this
that
one,
up so people can see what you're reading.
What?
I know this is going to shock everyone. Oh, gee, it's Green Hornet.
I think this was supposed to be last Wednesday, but Amy withheld comics from everyone because people haven't filled out their forms. So Amy will not have any more comics published until all the forms are filled out.
Well, sounds like a bad day for you, John.
I got my book. I don't care.
What about next week?
I already know what happens in Vampirella Strikes number 10. I just messaged Tom Stigowski and said, "There's a book embargo. How does this end?"
So John Spilios is already ahead of the game. He caught it out of the corner of his eye. All right, so we'll throw it up there, but you got it, John.
This is Green Hornet One Night in Bangkok. This was it's like a one-shot sort of deal. I'm gonna say Wednesday. Don't hold me to it, but maybe Amy will release the comics on Wednesday.
All right, so
fill out their paperwork between now and then.
So Storm number 1 with Punisher cover sketch by Joe Del Beato and Mariano Nicieza. And John, it's $74. Okay, buddy. So I got you.
Nice.
I got you down for that. All right.
I like that. It's almost like vintage Punisher coloring. Like that's the way the Punisher used to look in the 70s.
Well, Joe Del Beato and Mariano have been churning out this.
There's even like a chunky quality that's kind of Ramita Jr. like, right? Like the Warzone era.
Yeah, I like that.
So we were going to have Ken Hazer on. I think I mentioned it on Friday on our Wednesday show this week, but that has now been postponed till next week. All right, just so everybody knows, we made mention of it, but now that has been postponed to next week. Let's see. Lyle Hobson says, I wanted to mention Star Wars High Republic Trails of Shadows trade paperback has a huge error. Between part 3 and into 4, there's 20 pages missing. It has a Venom story as well. That's interesting.
When you have one publisher own almost everything, it's all the same to them. They don't,
Next
it may be the collector's item, Lyle. It's an error. It's an error.
How long do you think until we get? Because now Marvel's got Alien, they got Predator, they got Star Wars. Now they've got Planet of the Apes. How long till we get that giant Secret Wars 3 from Marvel with all the different licenses?
Crisis on Licensed Earths, if it was DC, that would have been. I think we've talked about this before, though. One of my favorite things, and this was with books I don't even particularly read, when they did the Alien variants for Marvel, I think most retailers were like, wow, they're kind of onto something here. And granted, they weren't in the story. It was literally, like Spider-Man and an alien is behind him. But the story was just a normal story, it wasn't. And I think the success of that, I cannot imagine at some point the Guardians of the Galaxy won't come across an egg. That's where it's going to start. And then they'll follow, let's be honest, the sort of MacGuffin, I made a mistake again, has turned out to be Star-Lord.
Hold that thought. All right. So, and weird, you did see Rocket Raccoon up there. So it is the Rocket Raccoon 2-pack. All right. So it includes Rocket Raccoon #1 Midtown Comics exclusive by J. Scott Campbell, and then Rocket Raccoon #1 blank variant gold signature edition signed by Scotty Young and Ken Hazer with a Rocket Raccoon sketch.
That's cool.
By Ken Hazer.
Wow, I like that.
So suggested retail of $220 for the package, and we've got both comics. It's a 2-pack for $69.99. All right. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I just was thinking about Guardians of the Galaxy and thought this might make a nice little pair.
There's a lot of speculation that Rocket Raccoon is going to die in the next Guardians movie. And if that happens, I'm just saying it's speculation, right? Like, it's not probably true.
Someone like Bradley Cooper, I could totally see that. How long is that guy going to do this, right? He's already like a millionaire, famous, a million movie roles. How long is he going to drag out, voicing the raccoon character?
Well, the thing is, though, with a voice actor, it seems to be more easily replaceable than a War Machine or a Black Panther, you would think, right?
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. I mean,
if Vin Diesel can do I Am Groot for like 2 decades, why not Bradley Cooper?
My guess is they probably had him say it 1,000 different ways and they recorded it. So long after he decides he doesn't want to do it anymore, they have the content to track. So it'll still be in there.
Yeah, but I mean, I got to imagine voiceovers for these actors is a lot easier than actually, and
they don't diet, they don't work out. Half the guys
you just show up to the studio, the recording studio, and you put a headset in, and you just start talking, So I got to imagine it's from an actor standpoint, it's got to be a lot easier than making a full-length feature film. But who knows? I mean, why did Harrison Ford come back and make yet another Indiana Jones movie? He should have more than enough money.
I think that he does just because he can. The same reason he was Han Solo.
There you go.
Why did he come back to do to take over Thunderbolt Ross for that Thunderbolts movie? Like, that seems weird to me. Like,
that's probably like for $50 million or some insane amount of money.
Make sure he gets the retirement that he wants. Just like, it could be a little bit better, my retirement, if I can just do this one Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, but we were talking about some of these other properties that Marvel, Alien. Some of them work better than others. I think it fairly writes itself that you have the Guardians of the Galaxy or some other space-based characters run afoul of Predator, Alien. The one that's tough because the nature of the character, and I love these books. Generally, the hardcore fans of either franchise did not like them. I love them. They did 2 series, and we had the books on this show a bunch of times of Star Trek, Planet of the Apes, and they've even mixed the Green Lantern and Yellow Lantern Corps in there. Those are fun reads. But I got to tell you right now, as interesting as it is seeing Dr. Zaius with like a power ring or something, I got to tell you right now, those ape characters in a superhero universe don't do real well. That doesn't fit. That's just sort of, they tried a bunch of stuff. And one of the reasons I love Dark Horse and some of these other studios from, we will say maybe late 90s, early 2000s was the golden age for this stuff, they kind of found a way to make stuff work. Right. Like Alienation and Planet of the Apes. And they had, you know what I mean? Like one of the zombie things in Planet of the Apes. I can't remember which one it was. But those things work a little more. I don't think when you have somebody with like, the hammer of Thor, he's that worried about like a gorilla with a machine gun. Marvel has a gorilla with a machine gun, and that's Ken Hale. And I don't think anybody sweats Ken Hale. As much as I love the Gorilla Man character from Agents of Atlas, and I forget what else he was in. But Alien is something that could really, because we have the Brood, right? The X-Men, basically the X-Men sort of did this in the 80s. They saw Alien was popular and thought, hey.
I don't know. I think if you mix too many of the properties together from a film standpoint, it's going to feel a little bit like jumping the shark.
Well, I think the way this works is they keep the Disney stuff over here, or in our case, here in our office. They keep the Star Wars stuff in its own. Because as cool as it is, yeah, I know there's Bat in the Sun. People love seeing Darth Vader and Batman mix it up. I just don't think that's going to work in a comic. I really don't. And while Jedi might be okay, or a Sith might be okay in a certain level of the Marvel Universe, again, when comic book universes, the reason people say they're harder to write is because the powers are so high. I don't care how dangerous a Sith is. Exactly what is he going to do and say to Thor? Really not much. You know what I mean? It's just not going to work. But I think something like Alien or even Predator, Predator Wolverine, that works.
So, John Spilios, I don't actually know, but best bet is email me and Amy and we'll find out. Oh, there we go. Nick answered. So there you go, my friend. That should answer the question. All right. So let me see. All right. So,
to answer the earlier question, what I was reading was Green Hornet One Night in Bangkok.
Shocker.
Shannon Denton, Jet Morales. I'll say this. I've read this book a bunch of times. I got the first, this was on Kickstarter. I got this copy a long while back. I've read this about 5 or 6 times now. I will say this. This is very well written and drawn. This is not how I would do Green Hornet. But I urge everyone to check it out and make your own sort of decision because people are split. I spend an unhealthy amount of time in Green Hornet chat rooms and, Facebook or whatever, and it's about 50-50. Right. Half the people are like, you're out of your mind, this thing rocks. And, some of us are like, I don't, it's a different approach, right? And I think, anytime you deviate from what's expected,
right,
you kind of run back and forth. One of the reasons I've read this thing a few times is I wanted to have a real good sort of handle on it. I had a couple people, especially on Twitter, at me like, hey, did you like it? I see there's going to be more Green Hornet. And I'm like, I would really suggest you read it for yourself and decide.
All right. So, you know what? We got to take... No, we're 6:28. We got to take our break.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't see that.
All right, so we're going to take our first break. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Stay with us.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.
You just finished the last episode of your favorite new show, and you just have to talk about it. But all your friends are ghosting you because of that incident last week at the buffet. Oh, you know the one. What you did to that chowder. Ugh. Keeps me up at night. So what do? Join writer Dan Wickline as he breaks down all your favorite pop culture media. Whether it's a review of the latest nerdy TV show or a dive back into the history of your favorite comic characters, Dan's ready to discuss all the hottest topics live. Join the conversation as Dan live streams Tuesday through Thursday at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. The Dan Wickline Show on The Experience. Comic culture and sales.
right, and we're back. All right, so this is a good bargain. We've got Young X-Men number 10 signed by Billy Tan. It is number 2 of only 25 signed, and we have the one available for $19.99.
Some of these characters look like they come from Exiles, if anybody even remembers that book. Well, the book was like 20 years ago or close.
I remember the Judd Winnick one. That's a good book, that version of the Exiles. I love that stuff.
All right.
Stevie B, I love that book. I was having a conversation with Mariano, actually, because Mariano, like me, loves 60s television. We talk about Batman, Green Hornet, Land of the Giants, all these kind of obscure Star Trek. And I loved it. He had almost the same exact thing when he read it. He didn't know because it was more lighthearted. They've done some great stuff with Batman 66, Man from U.N.C.L.E. I'm pretty sure these books are being written for the olds. There's no way somebody can look, and I know we have a little fun with them or whatever, but I can't believe someone looks at like Alex and says, hey, let's do a Man from U.N.C.L.E. book. I just, you know what I mean? I just don't see.
Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I was a fan favorite.
Lyle, I just bought this week. I got like an Amazon gift card, and I used it to buy season 1 of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Unfortunately, Sea Hunt is not available. People forget Sea Hunt a little bit. Certain ways, Sea Hunt was a better show, but Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea had the motion picture connection, the bigger casting budget.
The legs.
So it had more legs. But yeah, I absolutely loved that version. Of
I had the little car from Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Oh, yeah.
The Matchbox car that came out. The first 2 seasons of Lost in Space. Then it got kind of. I agree with Ed Weird. It got
After
kind of
the first couple seasons. Lost in Space became more of like a feel-good family romp, and I think in the beginning they tried to make it
like an RV in space. It became.
Irwin Allen said, "Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It became an RV in space." Irwin Allen envisioned them as the Space Family Robinson. He said the Swiss Family Robinson.
Right.
And he kind of had a more serious approach. It just didn't work. He had his writers and his producers pulling him into these kind of feel-good family moments with, even then, let's sell some merch and fluffy monsters.
Right.
And, Penny always had that, the thing with her. And I think that's how that show lasted longer. But let's be honest, most real science fiction fans I know sort of say what Edward said. They watch a couple seasons. Maybe you've got a few favorite episodes a little bit later on, but
Well, I mean, Batman 66 and Green Hornet have that connection because of the TV shows. They were. Wasn't Green Hornet basically a spinoff?
Yes.
So I think they lost a little bit because Batman had that tongue in cheek and Green Hornet didn't. So I felt like they lost.
Yeah,
a little
Batman
bit there.
was meant to be a little bit more lighthearted. They sort of wanted Green Hornet to be guys getting punched in the face. And if you watch the Green Hornet, that's basically what you got.
Yeah.
Do you like
The
the
way
crossover
the
episodes?
show-
Do you like the crossover episodes, John?
I did.
I did too.
I really did. I thought for what it is and for its time, it was about as good as it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone asks, did I like the Seth Rogen movie? It was entertaining, but no, it was not what I wanted to see.
It was. They went that opposite direction and they got real silly.
That's right. Irwin Allen, and again, I was having a talk with Mariano about this. Irwin Allen is like a giant of the genre in that era. The guy had, and then of course he went to movies, and he did The Towering Inferno, and maybe Poseidon Adventure. I mean, he did like a few.
What about Earthquake?
Or maybe Earthquake in Sense Around.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know what I mean? He kind of went from science fiction to these disaster movies, these huge budget disaster movies.
Towering Inferno. I saw all Airwolf. I liked Airwolf, but it got cheesy towards the end, Lyle, because you could tell they were
cheesy towards the
well.
end.
No, you could tell their budget was shrinking because it was the same shot of Airwolf every single time. Okay, it was kind of like Battlestar Galactica, the original.
Yeah, it's like watching Power Rangers, where it's like, man, I swear I've seen that Dragon Zord shot before. Airwolf was one of my favorites, and that's a great theme as well.
Get smart.
Ronald just mentioned One Step Beyond. I think it's still on Amazon Prime. I had it on DVD years ago. I think you can just watch it on Amazon Prime. I don't even think you have to pay for it. One Step Beyond is people have these arguments, these hardcore nerd arguments about Twilight Zone, or which Dynamite has done, or Outer Limits, right? Like, which is the better analogy series, right? And then somebody like me always throws out Night Gallery, and it kind of gets a little bit confusing. People forget One Step Beyond. One Step Beyond probably had consistently better writing because there's only so much stuff Richard Matheson could do. You know what I mean? Serling himself was a writer, so his work was like front and foremost. If there had been a production company and they just said to Richard Matheson, do everything, that's sort of what you're looking for.
So the Andromeda Strain, I remember that movie. Towering Inferno, I agree, Thomas Bishop. It was my mom loves disaster films. So if it was a disaster film, every airport movie ever made, my mom would take us to go see. And my mom was terrified of flying, which made zero sense to me whatsoever. Why do you want to see an airplane disaster movie if you're afraid of flying, Mom? How is this a good idea?
Hey, was Paul Newman in Towering Inferno as well?
He was.
Okay.
Yes, he was.
It was McQueen and
Paul Newman.
I'm trying to think who else.
I want to say, I can't remember her name. Faye Dunaway.
Faye Dunaway might have been in it.
I think she was in it as well.
I Spy was Robert Culp and Bill Cosby.
Yes, correct. The name we don't say anymore.
He did the work, but.
And Man from U.N.C.L.E., obviously, I think that was mentioned before. I remember having a little car. I love that car. And when you open the trunk, it shot out like a little missile. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Of course, I had the Batmobile.
I think it was Lyle Hobson mentioned The Invaders with Roy Thinnis. The Invaders. This is a real obscure one. You can find episodes of this on YouTube.
That's right, Edward. Fred Astaire was in Towering Inferno as well.
I got to tell you, The Invaders was one of the first things I asked Nick about, and he was being super polite, like, yeah, okay, that's great. Thanks, man. Keep buying the books. But I don't know if he thought I meant Marvel's Invaders, which I also like.
Well, the plan didn't work. You're not buying the books.
It backfired totally, didn't it? Hey, you want to stop by the office sometime?
That's right. Marcus just said Towering Inferno also had OJ. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. They would get everybody to do these movies. And everybody would kind of pile on or whatever. The Invaders, the idea of the Invaders was super cool. If you're like a paranoia person, the idea of the Invaders that you're the only person that can see something, there's an alien invasion. There's going to be a little bit of that vibe in Marvel's Secret Invasion later this year, where only certain people know what's up.
Lyle Hobson, Rat Patrol. I've been watching that recently, as a matter of fact.
Well, yeah, what's his name just had his knee replaced. Back the German Colonel, back in the German Colonel's name was Hans Gudegast. His real name, his stage name is Eric Braeden. He's been in soap operas for decades.
Yeah, I remember that.
I follow him on social media. He just had his knee replaced.
The only reason I watch Rat Patrol is because it's on Heroes and Icons, that channel. And it comes on, I forget when. Capricorn 1, there's a good one, Ron.
That's also, I think OJ is in that one, too.
But what's funny is, I don't know how many viewers out there, I know Ron has. Ron Shepard sent us the link to it, but the trailer for History of the World Part 2.
Oh, yeah, they finally made it like 40 years
It looks pretty funny. I am
really
looking forward to it.
Something about someone wants to see comics. Yeah, Hulk and Namer CTAs look great, man. Thanks.
So you're right, Jay. You know what? Let's do that one next. All right. Preston did mention it, and we got sidetracked. No, John, we are not.
No.
All right. So let's do that one. Hold on. All right. So this is a connecting cover. So nice. Fearless Defenders #1 and Uncanny X-Men #1, Hulk versus Namor connecting sketch covers by Joe Del Beato and Mariano Nicieza. Obviously, they signed both copies. So suggested retail of $259.98, and we have this pair for $120.
And I think this is an homage of a Gil Kane cover. I might be mistaken. Nick probably knows because he knows both Gil Kane and Submariner, but I'm pretty sure that's an homage cover.
Yeah, I believe it is. I don't know if it's Gil Kane, but you might be right. Thomas Bishop, yep, Heroes and Icon, right? I'm loving that channel. I just
Night of the Grizzly. Lyle, is that Bo Swenson, Night of the Grizzly? I feel like we're having like movie trivia night all of a sudden.
I know, right? So we had a pretty interesting discussion on Friday on Robbie's show.
I didn't mean to interrupt with comics on a comic sales show.
That's right, Jay. Get a handle on it, bud.
Miss Jen sells plenty of comics. Don't worry about it. We're fine.
All right.
She sold so many comics, they're going to let her give out Eisners.
Preston, if my wife wasn't looking up tasers on Amazon. Yeah, Stevie B. I think John's right, actually. The Car, I don't remember that movie with James Brolin and Adrienne Barbeau. Wow,
yeah,
there's a blast from the past.
They did a sequel to it years later. I think it's on Netflix or maybe Shudder. They did a sequel to it.
Well, Adrienne Barbeau, best role I remember her in was
The Fog?
No, Escape from New York.
Oh, yeah, she was.
She's way better in The Fog, though. I love her in Escape, obviously, but she's got a better role in The Fog. That's my favorite.
That whole movie was just awesome.
She's also really good in Creep Show, where she plays the naggy wife that gets eaten by the creature in the crate.
Well, The Fog is one of these movies that always kind of gets lost. We start talking about Final Girls, right? And who survived it, who made it. And of course, rightfully so, Jamie Lee Curtis is at the top of that Final Girl food chain for like the movies of that era, right? I mean, nobody came, but she was a final girl in an excellent one-off movie, and it gets forgotten a lot. The Fog is legitimately a disturbing movie, and the remake was a big letdown. People still watch the original more. It's just this great idea.
CJ Design, Poseidon Adventure, another one my mom insisted on saying. Freaked me out, actually. I was still a kid. It really freaked me out, the whole capsizing, and then they couldn't get out. Oh, it was freaking me out.
When Universal first opened, they had stuff like sets from those movies. And I got to tell you, even though you're at a set, walking into something that's upside down, it's disturbing. It's real unnerving. And they had to do a lot of scenes like that. Ernest Borgnine talked about it. One of the most difficult things was orienting yourself in a room where the chandelier is coming up from the floor. You know what I mean? And he's got like the hardwood floor above his head. He talked about that was real disturbing in a magazine interview.
And somebody mentioned Zardoz. When I went to see that movie, I remember I thought, Sean Connery, science fiction is going to be great. That movie was brutally bad.
That is Sean Connery's second best role. Everything else ties for first.
Oh God, that was brutal. I was not a fan of that movie. And where Gene Hackman was brilliant in that movie. He really carried that movie, but a lot of big stars in that one as well.
Shelley Winters was in that
Shelley
movie.
Winters, what's his face? Oh God, from McHale's Navy.
Ernest
Borgnine. A lot of big stars in that one. But that's kind of how they did it.
Stevie B. I'm surprised we didn't get collar fender references or something.
Yeah, right.
The Car was sort of like, if you compare the two movies, they get compared a lot, even though they're very different. The Car is legitimately creepier. Stephen King's Christine is way more popular because, first of all, it's Stephen King. And second of all, they kind of had a cast that was more appropriate for the fan base or whatever. I mean, James Brolin, a little bit of snoozing for me. The Christine is overall a better movie, but the idea of the car, the randomness of it, like, what is up with this car? And that's probably the only thing they played up in the sequel, which was bad.
And weird. That is correct, actually. I forgot about that. The
Albert
grandpa
Lewis?
from Willy Wonka.
Oh, no, that's...
I don't remember. I don't remember the actor's name. But he was in a lot of things. But he was in Willy Wonka, and he was in Poseidon Adventure.
I've never seen him when he wasn't old. Like, he was old. Everything was old.
Say that again?
I didn't say anything.
Oh.
How can he get a word in? We're just talking about stuff from 50 years ago.
Hey, it's not Alec. He should know some of this stuff.
I know plenty of this stuff. I just, I'm just amazed at you guys just going off on it, But by the way, the grandpa from Willy Wonka is totally a deadbeat grandpa because, like the famous meme says, he
Jack Albertson,
couldn't do anything, until there was a chance to go to a candy factory. He's up out of that bed
in a flash. He's like a scam artist. He's like an insurance con artist. And then what? Candy? Free stuff?
Let's see. Marcus, Christine was possessed the same way Herbie
was, right?
And I've never seen The Car, but I love Christine. Absolutely adore Christine. That's a great evil car movie.
It's also a different kind of movie. You did a show a while back about types of horror. I remember this is maybe a year ago, but like the tonality in horror movies. Is it super overt, slow burn, suspenseful, whatever? I mean, you did like a whole thing about it. You had somebody else to call in. They are tonally very different. Christine is off and running. you kind of know what's going to happen with Christine, right? The car is this slower burn. Like, what is up here? It's out in the desert. Christine takes place in the all-American town, a Pleasantville setting, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's a very different vibe. But I would tell everyone, and we're just to be clear, it's my position here at Dynamite to suggest the books that won't sell. If I'm leaving, though, I'll have someone from HR contact you.
You can take your shot at it, Thomas. It never gets done anyway. Whatever John suggests it.
Can you imagine?
CJ, how about my mother, the car?
Oh.
Yeah, but I mean, that era had a lot of good TV. I mean,
So we're just going to mention Car 54, Where Are You? And we're going to end the show on that because it won't get any better.
Oh,
you want to do another book? Because that'll make 2 in an hour.
All right. We're cooking now. All right, so next up we got The Batman Who Laughs, #1, signed in gold by Scott Schneider. It is number 21 of 90, signed in gold, and we have one available. Suggested retail of $89.99. We have one available. It's one of our 5-star and $50 books. Sell more books so we can bury the Cowboys more.
Yikes.
Oh, man.
I don't even know why I showed up today.
I wasn't sure you were late. I was like, oh man, maybe he's too depressed. He's not coming on the show.
I thought about calling in sick for a second because I knew what would happen, but wasn't expecting a 49ers billboard when I first popped in there.
You know what? I walked in here. I usually try to get here 90 seconds or so before we go on the air for script reading, and he was here. Marcus was in his office. I kind of bombed past his office when I'm going to look for free comics and candy. And I saw him decked out. And immediately I'm like, dude, you have to open the show with Robbie. You have to. I felt bad, too, because he's supposed to go home. And I even said to him, look, man, if you want to stay a few minutes, that's cool. But if you don't feel obligated for
that. Yeah, I didn't even dawn on me. And I've been, like, walking past him all day. So didn't even dawn on me.
He's the second Niner fan I've seen decked out like that today. I was up in Princeton at like a secondhand paperback bookstore, and a girl came in, and it was head to toe, like red and gold.
That's dangerous in this area.
The whole thing, man.
That's dangerous in this
Princeton,
area.
it's kind of she's kind of here, right? Like Princeton's the middle. Like here's the Giants fans, here's the Eagles fans, and then you've got this sort of mythic strip that they like to call Central Jersey, where nobody likes anything, nobody does anything. So she probably felt she was safe.
Preston, Francis the Mule is my vote.
Francis the Mule, Mr. Ed.
Mr. Ed.
Any animal thing for me, it's always dogs. It's always dogs. Lassie, Ren 1010.
Oh, CJ Design. I got it. Yeah, if that was Zeke's last game, man, that's not a good way to go out, man.
Well, Banana Splits is a DC property now. They did that.
Really?
Yeah, they own Hanna-Barbera. So surrounding the Future Quest thing, which was Jeff Parker and Doc Sheaner, they had all these weird things like Speed Buggy and The Flash.
Yeah, those little crossovers, right? Yeah, they did a
funny little sort of.
Yeah, they did a Suicide Squad meets the Banana Splits. I think.
It was like Suicide Squad meets the Banana Splits. There was a couple others that were just like laughable. Like
there was Jabberjaw and Aquaman. That was a good one.
Jabberjaw and Aquaman, and there's one other I can't think of it now.
There was the Elmer Fudd Batman one by Tom King that was really.
That's the one I'm thinking about.
Hey, everybody want to see something cool real quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Have you guys talked about any comics that are available for sale?
No.
Oh, okay.
We talked about you publish comics.
I noticed we lost like 8 people watching in the last 20 minutes.
Oh, Rex.
Must be John.
The only time John Romita Sr. drew a Mad Magazine cover.
Oh man.
The only time. Can you believe that's John Romita Sr.?
That's cool. That's awesome.
What? Me worry?
And the last published John Romita Sr. piece of art. Superman 34 cover. Oh, and is Lars Man here?
We have not seen him yet.
We haven't seen Lars Man yet. Alfred E. Newman, my childhood hero.
Friday show.
Oh boy. 7 o'clock on The Experience.
7 o'clock on The Experience. What, me, Ramita?
Ron, they will be on Friday.
Well, hold on. To be clear, the Spider-Man is for sale. The Hobgoblin is for sale. This Spawn is for sale.
I can almost reach this one thing that won't be for sale.
But no, the Superman, the last John Romita Sr. published art drawn is not for sale. And neither is What Me Romita. The funny part is on the back, it actually has the old Marvel Comics phone number. It was sent back to Romita at Marvel.
Are these pieces for sale or some of them are?
These three will be for sale. Spawn by Brett Booth, Hobgoblin, Spider-Man 100 Recreation by Bob Layton. They will be for sale on Friday.
I love that Hobgoblin. That's so nice.
Which one?
The Hobgoblin. The Hobgoblin's awesome.
Yeah,
I love the way
Ronald. I'm out. I tell you what, Ronald. Tell you what. If you want the Hobgoblin today, I'll put the Hobgoblin up today for $500. So if you want that I'll put up today.
Wow, that is so cool. Move those sneaky old comics out of the way. It's original art time. It's Nick.
Right? So these other pieces, Friday.
All right. So except for the Romita Senior pieces.
You can tell Nick is humble because the name of his show on Friday is like Original Art with Nick. If I named that show, it would have been I'm Nick Barucci, and I have stuff way cooler than you do.
Stevie B, yes, I believe that was Romita.
Yes.
All right. So here we go. All right. So this is also Bargain Basement.
Alfred E. Newman was John Romita Sr., right? If I remember correctly?
I don't know.
I'm going to say the Alfred E. Newman was John Romita Sr.
Yeah, I believe that was Senior.
Yeah, Senior.
All right. So next up, we got Marvel Mystery Comics #1, 70th anniversary, signed by writer and former Marvel editor-in-chief Tom DeFalco. We have one. It is number 22 of 150 signed, and we have one available for $19.87.
Tom DeFalco, the architect of the M2 universe, gone but not forgotten. Every once in a while, like May Parker pop through in the Spider-Verse.
All right, and
I
let's
was
do.
always a big fan of J2, son of the Juggernaut, who, if you remember him.
I do like J2. I just read something where I'm guessing it's one of the Spider-Verse things where they're old now. Like May Parker is super old and J2 is old, and they're trying to kind of, keep their world together. I don't remember. I don't know if it was like the end or it's one of these things, but it's one of these things where it's like the future, right?
Right.
And the heroes are kind of old and they're just trying to hold it together. Like John Carter at the end.
That I don't know, Stevie B. That's a good question. All right. Let's throw another CCA up here. We have Batman Superman number 30 with Batman Robin cover sketch by Joe Del Beato and Mariano Nicieza. It is a homage to Carmine Infantino. As you can see, that famous look and pose on the rooftop. Suggested retail of $149.99, and we have the one available for $79.99.
Although I have to ask Mariano, what kind of day is it in Gotham? You see the sky in the background, right? I don't know if the Joker's released gas or something, but if the sky looks like that when I go outside, I'm going back inside. Batman will handle this.
Well, it is DC, so maybe it's a crisis event going on, and the sky is about to turn red or something.
Oh, you know what? This is like Earth 1940, where they're Batman and Robin forever.
Oh, that's pretty cool. John Spilius worked with Tom DeFalco's
brother at the bar. Wow,
that's pretty interesting.
Tom DeFalco's scheduled to be at our local con in April, and he did a very long extended run on Fantastic Four with Paul Ryan that I absolutely adore. So I am really, really excited to meet him. I've always wanted to meet
very
him.
Cool.
That's a run that gets forgotten. We talk about Simonson. We talk about, of course, Lee and Kirby. We talk about John Byrne. DeFalco's run sort of, I don't want to say gets forgotten, but it doesn't get mentioned in that conversation. I see a lot of this comfort.
Well, I was going to say some of the best-selling Fantastic Four comics are from that run because they had that die-cut cover, if you remember, that everybody has in their collection.
like 7 of them they have in their collection.
Right? There was the one where Human Torch goes Nova and burns down Empire State University, and they had that embossed cover that was all white, and then they reprinted it all red. I have both of them still. So yeah, good stuff.
Well, CJ Design, I love his comment. Crisis from Burrito Gas.
Yikes.
So you know what? Random question. Who's going to go out and watch 80 for Brady? I've been watching the interviews. That looks pretty funny.
Oh,
what are you talking about? That's a huge cast. You haven't seen the trailers for that?
Yeah, I haven't seen the trailers, but I know the movie you're talking about. And maybe if I'm at somebody's house and it just happens to be playing and they don't want to change the channel, maybe. But
oh, dude, I thought the clips that I've seen seem pretty funny. Yeah, thank you, Ed Weird. All right, I know you're hating on football right now.
I just don't need any more Tom Brady in my life. I've had enough. Okay, come on. Let's just calm it down, please.
Dude, how do you think John Spilios feels? That poor guy, right? John Spilios, no thank you. Oh, come on.
Super Bowl at least, man. Robbie
Brian Weaver, thanks for joining us, buddy. He doesn't want his money going to Tom Brady. Preston not going to watch No Collars. Oh my God, too funny. I'm not going to go to movie theaters and watch it, but when it comes to streaming, I'm probably going to watch it.
I think I gave you a ticket to go to a free movie once and you didn't use it.
I don't think I did.
And I don't care, but I'm like, that's how much you don't want to go to a movie.
I did. By the time I'm done here, I get home, whatever. I'm toast, man. And most of my weekends are filled.
Right before Christmas, we did the show. I went over to the Asian fusion place and got my sushi. I went to see like a 9-something movie.
Well, if you think about it, right? So I do the show Mondays. I do the show Wednesdays, right? So pretty much by the time we're done, it's 8:00 at night. I got to go back. I got to be back here tomorrow morning.
I'm pretty sure you'd be kicked off Robbie's Friday show. I don't see that happening anymore.
Oh, no, that's at noon, so that works out perfect.
I'm pretty sure that
works out perfect. It's at noontime, and we went way over last show, didn't we? We were like 50 minutes in or whatever.
Yeah, we were almost an hour-long show on this, and the subject was, are we excited for Thunderbolts? In which we talked about that for about 2 minutes.
And we drifted. Somehow Kevin Costner got in there.
Nice.
Okay.
We're talking about Waterworld and Dances with Wolves.
Dances with Wolves. What's that?
That's a guy I could have seen being Thunderbolt Ross. The Harrison Ford thing I don't know if the Harrison Ford thing is Disney just flexing. Like we've got so much money, we can just write checks and people do it. A guy like Kevin Costner seems to me to be more of the Thunderbolt Ross fit. I almost think Harrison Ford is too big an actor for a character that's not big enough. Thunderbolt Ross is a footnote. He's a footnote in the Hulk. He's a footnote in, Thunderbolts. Yes, I know he's the Red Hulk. The Red Hulk in and of himself is a footnote character. I know he had 15 minutes of fame, but unless they're going to have, Han Solo smash, I'm not quite sure I get that casting.
That's a good point. A little bit I kind of see the Kevin Costner thing working out. All right, we got to take our next break. So stay with us. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
We'll do at least 2 more books in the next hour.
At least.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey. And behind every page, there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today. You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey, we're back. I don't know where John is, but Ron, it is a Vampirella litho. I think it is Peach Momoko. I think we have some of these in the back. If you're interested, I'll find out for you, buddy. Wall of spam. The ads can't break through, but that was a good show. I mean, I don't know how we ended up drifting off, and I definitely went on a Rex rant. That's for sure.
Well, because what happened was, for some reason, you felt this crazy need to defend Avatar as if it didn't make enough money.
Ooh.
You're sitting here defending Avatar for like 30 minutes.
That's right. That's how we got how we ended up drifting off.
Avatar, Jay, I'm begging you, pull the plug.
Give me that Green Hornet comic right now.
Why? I got like 9 of them. Here, you want it? Why would you want a Green Hornet comic?
Why would you have the
like
same
stuff in
issue?
it?
I got one more thing.
Oh, something cool.
Well, wait till you see it. I'll show you first. You tell me if you think it's cool or not. God. There is going to be nothing as unique as this.
Wow. Holy cow, that's cool.
Oh, that is cool.
So,
I can't see what that is. That
Sergio Aragonis gave this to Virginia Ramita. And Virginia's just like cleaning some house. So she was like, would you like that, Nick? I was like, Sergio Aragonis giving you flowers? I love it.
Let's just show up at her house in like sanitation gear, like, we're here to take your stuff, miss, and just wait.
Don't do that.
And Weird says he can't tell what it is.
There we go.
On an upcoming episode of Nick's stuff, it's
To
way cooler than
Virginia
yours.
Mad Lee.
That's cool. Wow.
Are you still at 0 Avatar?
I am. Jay just said the fact that I've seen Morbius more than Avatar blows my mind.
Yes, it does. Blows my mind too. I forgot about
To be clear, without a doubt, Morbius is far and away the worst movie. I just the whole everything about Avatar just left me no.
I again, man. You know what? I know how we drifted off, Robbie. We were talking about the concept of original content. It always kind of goes back to the same thing. The saturation point.
Yeah, because we were talking about, because you said basically we were like, we're not excited for Thunderbolts. Why? And then we started going on about the state of movies and how everything has to be some kind of a big rush tentpole thing, and
with a sequel.
But to you, Avatar 2 was like the most critically acclaimed, powerful story. John,
no.
Rush is really into Avatar. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I wasn't.
But I was making a point about original IP content, which drew us out into Avatar and a bunch of other movies that we had talked about, which we thought is I think anyway is disappearing today. When
it's like Avatar, can't disappear fast enough.
You're like the worst person to ask, because you're so MCU. I mean, Jesus, you're the guy that watched what Morbius how many times? Okay, and by your own mission, you said it sucks, but I still watched it 3 times. So you're exactly the wrong audience to have this conversation with. If the whole world was MCU, you'd be very happy.
Well, kind of is, right?
It's certainly getting there, right? Preston, good question. If Avatar was green instead of blue, would it change John's mind?
Ronald asked you a question. Do we have a Van Pro lithograph up
I
there?
answered it for him.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, you were outside grabbing chocolate along with
sorry.
more
Yeah, I
free
was outside
comics.
grabbing chocolate.
Along with more free comics.
By the way, we're out of Christmas bonus.
Wow, good job, John.
Is there anyone that deserved the Christmas bonus less than me? I ask you. Nobody.
I'd have to add up all the comics you've taken.
Right? I said something to Marcus about the Christmas bonus and candy, and of course he was like, "There was," and I'm like, "Sure was."
Marcus, good point, right? Zoe's Saldana. What you color her green, you color her blue. $1 billion.
Yeah, she's money. She is absolutely money. They just had a picture of her. They were theorizing she's working on some other project because I guess on her Instagram or something, she posted a photo of herself in workout gear. In what I call Avengers shape, apparently. So that led to a conversation: is this a Guardians of the Galaxy thing? Reshoots, blah blah blah. Her scenes. Is she in something else?
Well, Gunn had another controversial statement. I guess he said something about the cast for Guardians of the Galaxy. Meet up again with them at DC or something like that. So that's the recent news on DC Universe. Not exactly blockbuster stuff, but
Also, did you see that last week Jason Momoa got very, very excited? Apparently just had another meeting with Gunn and Zephyrin and was saying, thank you. So
yeah, I did see that. But did he say anything? Did he reveal anything? No, right?
They didn't reveal anything, but the rumors are, of course, it's either Lobo or they've committed to Aquaman 3. And I don't think he'd be that excited about Aquaman, but Lobo, I think he'd be very excited for.
I think it was a 1-for-1 deal, right? My guess is probably he'll do Lobo if there's another Aquaman appearance somewhere down the line, right? That seems to me, if I was Jason Momoa, that's the way I would go.
Why would Jason Momoa care?
He likes Aquaman. He said he loved doing the character.
What else is he going to say?
So my guess is, when you get called into an office and anytime there's this up in the air, people are saying all this stuff about James Gunn. Let me be super clear. I don't have any problems, whatever. His position is nowhere near as stable and secure as people are thinking it is. They're acting like James Gunn walked in there with a $9 billion check and bought the entire DCU catalog. That didn't happen. He signed a contract which could easily be cashed out, burned, thrown away. The management for Warner, Discovery, DC, let's be honest, they are far less stable than Disney and Marvel. Something could happen tomorrow. They could find a picture of James Gunn shooting a middle finger to a nun, and he's gone. You know what I mean?
I don't know. You're talking about the same company that's put up with Ezra Miller's nonsense for like how long?
You're right about that, but there might be a photo of James Gunn flipping off a nun. I'm just saying that's possible. That's
Gunn has had a sketchy past, but
I think Ezra Miller has put the bar up so high. Okay.
Yeah, you have to be.
DC can't get rid of anybody now if they don't get rid of Ezra Miller. You know what I'm saying? You got to murder somebody on live TV to outdo what Ezra Miller did.
You have to catch him strangling kittens or something.
I think the bar is so high now. There's just no way that there's really, and Gunn has been controversial, but not, when you compare it to the whole Ezra Miller thing, it's just no way.
I don't know what was there. There's probably more going on to that than we know, because on the surface, there's no reason for them not to bury the film and him. Jay brings up a really good point, and this movie gets forgotten. It's a DC movie. Both Zoe Saldana, Chris Evans, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, they were in a kind of an underrated version of The Losers.
Right.
Like The Losers, I guess, was originally sort of like a DC thing. Then, if I remember, it sort of was revived by Vertigo as like a spy thing.
Yes.
And then the movie came out, and the movie was super entertaining. Obviously, I know it doesn't fit into the DCU. This is, it's a little bit sort of an out there thing. But I just watched it over Thanksgiving. I walked in on half of it. And I walked in and somebody said, wow, it's Captain America. And I looked and I realized, no. Chris Evans has done a few movies like this. He did a movie called Push for a big Hong Kong studio about having telekinesis or something.
Right.
And that was based on some, I don't know whose graphic novel it was or whatever. But, this stuff is here and there. All I'm going to say is this. I hope James Gunn has a good run. I hope it's good. You know, I like DC characters. Publishing an editorial is so bad I can't really read much. Every once in a while I try to give it a shot. Oh God, Tom King did Rorschach. All right, because I love Rorschach and Watchmen. Awful. Well, go read my Amazon review. Just terrible. And then I take another shot, and this one I took personally. Tom King decided to share his thoughts with us on Adam Strange. And I'm like, dude, you have a fundamental lack of mid-20th century comic book science fiction understanding to undertake this project. But it's Tom King, so they give him whatever he wants because his name is money. Strange Adventures, the art was amazing. I don't know if Mitch Graz and Doc Shaner got awards or nominations, but they should have. That story had absolutely nothing to do with either Adam Strange, and with the exception of, I'll even include Mr. Terrific, it makes all the DC characters look bad. Superman, Batman, none of these characters came out. How do you ruin DC characters, old, a relatively new incarnation of a DC character, Mr. Terrific, who I think, man, they could do more with Michael Holt. I would love to see a movie, maybe a series. I think Michael Holt is, you know, Mr. Terrific starts with a goofy costume, and the next time you see that guy, you're like, wow, I'd really love to see more with this guy. But King writes him into the unenviable position of being unlikable. And then suddenly Adam Strange, and I'm sorry, it's been out for a while, so this is spoiler alert, they go from Adam Strange being a 1950s comic book sci-fi hero of two worlds till he's a war criminal. Really? Come on. That's
a case, and Tom King does this a lot, where he changes the characters to fit the story he's trying to tell.
Yes, and
that Strange Adventures I was into until the end when they had that big final reveal that spoilers, he is the bad guy. And I didn't like that. However, he's doing the same thing right now with the Human Target, with the Justice League International, and I love it. I love it. It's ridiculous, but I love it.
Somebody saw one of my reviews on Amazon of all places, and they were just like, dude, you really don't pull any punches. And I was like, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So I just posted it's terrible.
I don't like saying this word because a lot of people throw it around. And it doesn't really mean anything when they say it. But to me, when I reviewed that last issue, I just said character assassination. Is what was going on in this one.
And I also call him, Tom King, the king of bait and switch. He tells you he's doing an Adam Strange book or whatever. So you think you're getting a Human Target or Adam Strange book, but you're not. You're getting a story that he wants to tell you that, you know, he sat in a coffee shop or whatever and typed out or jotted down some notes on his phone or whatever. And then he looks around to see what editor will allow him to kind of pigeonhole the character, like Robbie said, into that. And my interest in that is zero.
So aggressively relaxing. Thanks for joining us, man. I agree with you. I actually love the Aquaman movie. I love Jason Momoa. I can't think of anything that he's been in that I didn't like. But I want to disagree with something you said about gun security.
Okay.
I think he's pretty secure, and I'll tell you why. Right now, and hopefully somebody in the executive branch at Warner Discovery realizes this. This really kind of is your last chance to fix this. And if you,
I would agree with that.
And if you prematurely go, oh, well, this isn't working, you're gonna wax Gunn and Safran. I can tell you're gonna lose everybody because essentially everybody's just gonna throw their hands up and say, there you go, typical DC universe. Okay, they go down one direction, they make a hard left turn, decide, oh, we're going a different direction, and it's just been their entire history, starting with Zack Snyder and then Josh Whedon. It's been exactly that. Okay, who makes a movie that says, oh, you know, it wasn't very good, so let's make another one. Same movie, switch up the cast somewhat.
I agree with you if it wasn't for the Batman thing. They can do anything to Batman, and Batman marks will go and buy tickets to see that movie. They're the kid from Twilight being Batman, and they swore it was a good movie.
No, but that's fine. But you know, the problem is that, yeah, we can all say you've had these one-shot wonders.
Preston says, as long as Tom King doesn't touch Power Girl.
you can say that, but they've had those successes down the line. Okay, they had the Dark Knight Returns and all that stuff, and they've had their one shots. Okay, and success of Batman, that's great. Success of Joker,
Suicide Squad,
success of Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix, that's great.
Peacekeeper.
Okay, but you all right, Peacekeeper, all right, but again, that's Gunn, right? So here's your thing, is that you pretty much, we know that can happen, but that's not what you've been trying to build. You've been trying to build that MCU-like universe.
Everyone wants that. Everyone's kind of working towards that. How can we get that build to that $1 billion?
But if you prematurely get rid of Gunn and Safran, I guarantee you.
Their initial contracts for like 4 years, I believe, and they're told to put together the 8 to 10 year plan, and I think they're safe until these first couple movies come out, and we'll see what happens.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and let's just hope that James Gunn is successful, because if they're not, I think Warner Discovery is going to be like calling Vin Diesel to be like, "Hey, bring some of that fast magic over here," and then we don't want that. We don't want that.
Well, I think that the biggest issue here right now is that you go to the fan base, and we're basically thinking, okay, you guys are clowns. Okay, the merger didn't really help you. Okay, your executive staff has way too much influence on how this goes. Okay, and then you change your executive staff like people change underwear, and then every time somebody new comes in, you're trying to shift directions, and that has worked against you, and to the point now where, I think it really peaked when, all right, let's put out the Snyderverse version of Justice League, okay? Hey, Creative Keep, what's up, man? Let's remake Suicide Squad, or, that to me is the ultimate failure. You put out a bad movie like Morbius, okay? It's bad, all right? General public agrees it's bad. So what do?
Yeah,
you know what? Let's make Morbius again with a new cast. What? Okay,
Isn't that what Disney keeps? Isn't that what Disney does every 20 years with Tron?
That's kind of true.
I love Tron.
Because I just heard that they're doing a Tron 3 with Jared Leto.
But
I love Tron 3 like I love cake. They cannot stop ruining that. They just can't help.
Now, keep in mind, though.
You're absolutely right.
Keep in mind, though. Joram, what's going on, buddy?
You know what would be cool? Do we have like an Aquaman or Batman or DC comic to see if people want to buy?
I don't know. Let's see.
Because that would be a good segue.
Yeah, but I think ultimately the point, though, is you need some stability, and I think most of fandom. I'm sure you have those crazy people there, like fire James Gunn and let's sell the Snyderverse to Netflix. It's like, what are you people crazy? So you have that, but that was the other problem.
There's a buyer for the DC universe.
But if you're DC, why would you sell it? Why would you license it out to anyone?
Don't think. Why would we buy comics in a talk show? There's only
good question, Ed Weird.
There's only one appropriate owner for DC Comics. And that's Disney.
Oh my God!
I'm getting my Justice League Avengers crossover. And I want George Perez's wife to get all that money. And I mean all that money, like it's raining money.
Well, now you're talking about two different things. At Ron, oh wow, Creative Keep doing some traveling. So I just feel like that they're up against the wall, and they really have to let Gunn run with it. I think beyond your Zack Snyder fan base there that just wants to see his universe. I think generally speaking, everybody thinks that the Gunn move is a good one. Okay. And there's respect there. And I think there's a little bit of time and a bit of breathing space that the fans will allow him to try and make something happen. Now, I kind of agree with Robbie. The first couple of films, 2-3 films, depending on
I actually think that's right. I think you have to give at least 2 movies, however long that takes to get 2 movies out, 2.5 to 3 years. You have to at least see 2 movies. From this sort of Gunn, Safran, and then whoever they get, you need to see what 2 movies are going to look like. Maybe if the first 2 movies work, we're good. But I'll tell you right now, we live in a culture where everybody is trigger happy in everything. And I'm telling you right now, a movie comes out, whatever, there's bad blowback, something happens. Warner, Discovery, DC, they all have this sort of itchy trigger finger that, okay, we're going to make replacements. I mean, they canceled projects pointlessly. They said it was for taxes or whatever. Come on. Anybody really believe that a company the size of Warner Discovery is going to get a huge benefit by getting rid of Batgirl, who was already essentially done? I'm sorry, that's a myth.
Yeah, they've been so incompetent and bumbling. I feel like they have to go down this road because this really kind of is their last chance.
I agree.
Jay, axing Cavill. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't that attached to Henry Cavill as Superman. If he returned to Superman under new direction with the Gunn Safran thing, and we get a new look, I would be okay with that as well. But I'm not feeling, okay, so go find another Superman.
My thing that I mentioned a few weeks ago, have a DC Universe brand and a DC Elseworlds brand, and let's bring back Affleck and Gal and Henry. Let's bring them all back for Kingdom Come. I think we'd all be down.
I think
Kingdom
that's,
Come is my favorite thing.
I really think that's a bad idea.
But you know what studio does multiverse stuff with comic books? The good one does multiverse stuff with comic books.
Here's the thing, though. I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. They already have that problem, okay, that they can't do anything about. You've got the Batman independent movie. You've got the Joker independent movie. So you already have this other universe you're competing with before you brought in Gunn. So now you're trying to build this brand. By running two alternate universes, you dilute one, if not both of them. And they can't afford that right now. I think that to me is ultimately the point, is that's been their problem all along. There is no one vision. There is no one kind of direction. There is no Kevin Feige, if you will.
Okay, so with Marvel, and they had their 10-year plan, and it basically built up into Infinity Gauntlet, right? I mean, we called it Infinity War, but we know that's Infinity Gauntlet that they were doing, right? Okay, that's cool, and that's big. What does DC build up to? What are their big events? Crisis events, right? You could get an actual crisis event by establishing some of these Elseworlds type things and then building up to it over 8 to 10 years. I think you could do that. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's been the problem all along. Is that you don't have one umbrella, you don't have one vision. You have all these people just going off, doing their own little universe here, their own little universe there, and that's how you got into this problem anyway. So.
But if there was a clear distinction, DC Universe, DC Elseworlds, I think that would work. I think that would work very, very
I don't know.
well.
You're also competing with MCU. This might have worked way back in the beginning when Iron Man was coming out, but I don't think it can work now.
The MCU's down.
The marketplace is so
DC's
crowded.
chance. This is DC's chance because the MCU is down right now. And so this is DC's chance to try to snatch that up. Now, unfortunately, they got 3 movies that are almost meaningless coming out this year, but
so
that's a really good
that's
point,
a good point
too. If this is a long distance race, right? This is the part of the race where the MCU figuratively is cruising. They haven't stopped, but they've shut off the afterburners because they know there's more to go, right? Like, we're done with Endgame, Avengers, we're done. So now we're kind of in this is exactly the time where you need to be getting good movies. And I think, and I know people liked it, but I think this weird Joker independent movie, this last Batman movie, they just don't set anything up. Change a thing, change it. I'll tell you what's happening with DC Studios. The same thing that's happening with DC Comics. They keep rebooting their universe. Remember how the new 52 was going to fix everything? That was like 4 reboots ago.
Well, I think creative keep it. He's touched on one of the problems they have. So what are they going to do about the Flash? And that's the other thing. Okay, Cavill was a push by The Rock, and that indicated.
Oh, that's another thing. How do you get rid of Black Adam and Dwayne Johnson? You know who's a bigger box office solo star than Dwayne Johnson in the last 12 years? No one.
Well,
yeah, but did you watch that movie? You watched Black Adam.
I watched Black Adam like 11 times.
Dude,
I love Black Adam.
You watched it 11 times instead of 37. Just shows you that you don't think it's that good of a movie.
Bingo. Morbius 3 times. Okay?
In all fairness, Black Adam plays a lot at the house on HBO Max.
I got to tell you, I think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson kind of did it to himself. Okay, Black Adam is not a critical enough character that they got to have it around. And when The Rock went around everyone and forced a Cavill issue because he doesn't like
that whole thing was if Black Adam's involved, The Rock's involved, and then The Rock wants to be the figurehead, and that's not who you build your universe around. As much as I did like him as Black Adam, I liked him in the role.
love Dwayne. Said Superman is who you build the DC universe around, and Black Adam has to be the villain, because who else realistically fights against Superman in a movie setting? Yeah, sure, in comics they have a zillion characters with a zillion powers. In movies, it's a lot more simple.
But in movies, we've never gotten to see it. We've only gotten to see Luthor trying to snatch up land. We've never gotten to see Darkseid versus Superman.
You're not hating on Otisburg, are you?
How about Jason Momoa Lobo versus Superman? Lobo versus Superman. There's one. How about Metallo? How about Doomsday? Never mind. Leave that one for a while.
I was going to say Doomsday should be what they're building towards.
Mongol. You know what I'm saying? Like there's threats. There are big time threats, and the early rumors, and they're just rumors, that James Gunn's script leans into Mixolydian, which seems to lean into his style as well. And Mixie is way more. He's a bigger threat than people realize if you take certain approaches like Grant Morrison and Alan Moore did with their works.
Well, I the way that I see it was that, Dwayne The Rock Johnson saw a vacuum and saw an opportunity to go and push his vision, whatever it is. And that vision was Superman, Henry Cavill Superman, and him as Black Adam. But once they brought Gunn on board, all bets were off. And from what the article said, I know you and I discussed this, was he pissed off a few people along the way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
because he went over people's heads.
Yeah.
He wasn't. Yeah, exactly. Because he's The Rock, though. And like John said, he's the Arnold Schwarzenegger of today.
Yeah, he's the Arnold Schwarzenegger of today.
Hey,
don't just let him do
he shot his shot. It didn't work, but he did. He tried,
At least he shot a shot. I give him credit for that. I do.
Creative Keep. We did mention that. Did Ron email you something?
He texted me something.
Yeah. To show Creative Keep the stuff that you brought in earlier. Creative just joined us.
He wants me to show everything I already showed?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yes, Creative Keep. We discussed that earlier. He said something controversial that he
talked about he'll see them again in DC Universe.
Right. Which obviously blew up because we're all hanging up.
Dave Bautista as Bane. Think about that. Dave Bautista as Bane.
Bautista as Bane, or you mentioned Mongol, which given his size, I think works if you want him to fight,
I think the most important thing is you kind of have to let Gunn run with it. And the problem that DC's had through all these years has been you have all these disparate voices, whether it's executives, fans, whatever, and those of us that aren't on, with the Snyderverse people or with the executives, you're sitting there and you're like, what is going on? This is a hot mess.
Okay, so real quick, do this in different orders. I did not show this, but this is the cover to Spider-Man 80. And this is Mark Bagley Pure Pencils. And this is kind of an homage to Spider-Man like 160 something, where Aunt May marries Dr. Octopus. Then we have Sergio Aragonés giving this to Virginia Romita, Madly, and Creative Keep. Real quick, did you get something extra with the Captain America cover you bought a while ago? I'm trying to remember. The only time John Romita Sr. painted a Mad cover, and I forgot what Marcus said, but it was really funny. Of course, it's Marcus. And the last published artwork John Romita Sr. drew, Superman 34, to go with John Romita Jr. doing Superman. The artwork on the top rack, this is John Romita Jr. and Scott Hanna. I was going to save it till Friday. This is a commission.
Man.
They sell for up to $600 or more sometimes. I'm putting it up at $500. So I was going to wait till Friday.
That's like a serious hobgoblin piece of art.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, so if it doesn't sell tonight, it will be back on Friday.
Yeah.
All right, but what did you say, 500, right?
Yeah, we'll do 500 tonight.
All right, so if anybody wants that, it is available tonight at 500. If nobody takes it, we'll it will reappear on
And
Friday.
Creative Keep, I think this might be yours to go with your Captain America cover.
Ooh.
So the remark that Spencer promised.
All right, there you go. All right, so I just realized we got to take our last and final break, so we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Hey, who wants
What?
to see
Wait a
me
minute.
cry? Who wants to see me cry?
No,
We'll
man.
do it after we come back from the
Well,
break.
hold on.
Nick.
First, everybody, hopefully hit your thumbs up. Second, if you want to see me cry, Nick will sell his Crisis number 8 color guides.
Yikes.
2, you don't care about the Crisis 8 color guides. But the vote is not going to be just tonight. There's going to be a vote on Wednesday and Friday as well. I'm trying to figure. I want to see who wants to see me cry and who loves me and wants me to keep my Crisis 8.
Well, we know Marcus just wants you to wear the red
I
pants.
know.
But
We'll see when we're back in.
Creative Keep. I have one new Leighton that is for Friday. And what did I do with it? This one is the
Cry
priciest
if you
one
wear
we've
red
ever had.
pants. The red pants have never been forgiven. The sin.
I'll show it when we come back.
all right, so when we get back from break, Nick will find it, hopefully.
Meanwhile, Rex is getting a call to take a break.
Yeah. So, all right, so we'll be right back.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales. Did you know that across America there are over 2, maybe even 3 live stream producers who can't even afford Mountain Dew? Take Brian here. Brian has gone 2 weeks without a sip of Red Bull. If it goes on much longer, he may take a shower and get a real job. Situations like this are as tragic as they are preventable. Join The Experience on YouTube and gain access to special emojis and members-only streams. For less than a cup of coffee, you can keep socially awkward hermit people working from their parents' basements where they belong. Scan the QR code on the screen to join. You'll be glad you did. Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find the link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP.
Hey, and we're back. All right.
We are back.
So
we got something cool coming in.
a request. So basically, the viewers are saying they don't want to see Nick anymore. They want to see Amy. Got it.
You don't want to see Amy
Yes.
because you didn't do what she
Yeah,
said.
this is my contractual obligation.
Oh,
to
okay.
show
I'm
on
sorry. I'm
camera.
supposed to sit here. Go ahead.
All right. What do you got? What are you showing here? What do you got in your hand?
This is going to be featured on Bill Cox's show tonight. I hope I'll have to go up close so you guys can actually see it, but it's Spawn
By Brett Booth.
by Brett Booth. Look at that.
Cool.
At that, and then Friday's show, I know a lot of people are going to like this. We have from Bob Layton, recreation of Amazing Spider-Man number 100. Look at all that color.
The one that's for Fat Jacks.
Say
Is that
again?
the one that's for Fat Jacks?
I'll double check.
Brett Booth
Yeah.
for Fat Jacks.
Oh, Brett Booth.
The
is
Brett
for
Booth
Fat
one's for
Jack.
Fat Jacks.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I getting this done.
The Bob Layton is the most complex Bob Layton we've ever had.
This one?
And yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of the two most complex he's ever done. This and Crisis number 7 cover. So this will probably be the priciest Bob Layton we've ever had. But look at all the work.
Nothing against Nick, but Amy's cute.
So
Thanks,
the people
Tom.
have spoken.
Listen, I always thought Facha Brute was a compliment because my
Yes,
mom.
Creative Keep. This is for Friday.
That's very cool.
So I suggest Marcus, back me up here. Nick should not reappear until we have the red pants. Once he's wearing the red pants.
And the red pants.
So Amy will have to fill
Amy
in.
wore the red shirt.
It's a red shirt.
to
No,
make up
no,
for it.
No,
no.
I hate the idea of you in a red
Marcus,
shirt.
thank you. We got a second from Jay. Marcus, I know you're going to chime
Yeah,
in
your
here.
vote doesn't count. Your vote doesn't count.
All right. So do we want Nick to return when he wears the red pants?
Wow, this is hello from
You
the
let
North
us know.
Pole or
All right.
something.
So Preston asked for Rex Cap. Let me get a few more books off the list
we
here.
haven't offered any books for sale to do a Rex Cap. The Rex Cap is just random.
Actually, because you're always jabbering, you lose count. That's why I have the sheet, my friend.
Okay.
All right. So here we
All
go.
right, I got double
This
check
is
something.
something.
Thank
I don't
you,
know if
Amy.
we,
And
You're
do
welcome.
your thing. Make sure you fill out the Amy form so she
yeah,
can get
fill
books
out the
out to
Amy
you.
form. Thank you, CJ
I don't
Design.
get a form. You don't get your stuff.
Marcus,
Plain and simple.
Marcus, this is a
Thank you.
family show. Nobody wants to see that, buddy. All right, nobody.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not even me. All right,
Survey
I'd have to
says.
go home. I would have to go home at that point. All right, so we have the Marvel Mystery 5-pack. Okay, too bad Lars Man isn't here. It is Spidey heavy, is all I'll say.
Oh,
All
Amy
right.
would love that, right?
So it has a suggested retail of $185, and we have it for $100. So in this Mystery 5-pack, we've got we've got one that is a variant cover, and it's going for $75. And then we have another one. It is a homage variant cover, and that one's going for $50. So those two books alone, and then we have three other books. Let's see, one is 10. Let's see, one is 40, and the other one is 10, I believe. So you're going to get all that $185 combined value for $100. And you know what? The heck with it. Let's throw it up there, Jay. Forget the mystery stuff. All right. So got Amazing Spider-Man number 29, Mark Bagley, Immortal Wraparound variant cover. That one is floating around these days in the wild for $10. We've got Champions number 1, Mark Brooks variant cover. That is floating around in the wild for $75. Then you've got Amazing Spider-Man number 9, second appearance of Spider-Gwen, cameo appearance of Solus, first appearance of Verna's Hounds, and that's worth $40. And you got Storm number 1, worth $10, and then Venom number 35, Sanctum Sanctorum, Sanctorum exclusive in Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man number 1 homage. That is worth $50. So there you go. All that for $100. All right. So then we've got I love Scotty Young's work. It's not for everybody, but Uncanny X-Men number 1, Young variant, signed in gold by Scotty Young. Suggested retail of $89.99. We have one, number 11, only 15, signed in gold, and is one of our 5-star $50 books. And Scotty Young covers are rare. All right, and this one is a bargain basement price.
I really like the Magneto in this one.
Mark, red or nothing. That's the ultimatum. Take it or leave it. All right, so this one is a bargain price wraparound cover. Incredible Hulk's number 611, signed in silver by Greg Pak. It is a wraparound cover, suggested retail of $69.99. It is number 24 of 50, and we have it for $19.62.
You can never have too many Hulks. I like this cover a lot. This is
With a
really cool.
wraparound cover, no less. Are you kidding me?
It's
It's pretty cool. All right, then we have Silver Surfer #1.
Edward wants to know, did we feed Nick? He's not slashing any prices.
I think he ordered a pizza with pepperoni on it.
You know what?
So.
A pizza did arrive, but I think they're just kind of running around doing stuff with art and whatever. I don't think anybody's eating.
I think he scarfed it when we weren't looking.
I had to move it out of the way to get to my chocolate.
All right, so then we have Silver Surfer #1 signed by Mike Allred, and it is number 21 of 325, and we have this one available for $21.
And would you like to see a real extended all red Silver Surfer run?
He did do one, and it was awesome. Mike Allred's one of my favorite artists. If nobody gets this, y'all watch out. Somebody better.
Oh, wait, how many issues was it? How long did it run?
I'm putting y'all on notice. Yeah, Mike Allred and Dan Slott did that whole run of Silver Surfer. There's an omnibus, I think, out, if not about to come out. It's such a good run.
I hit Marvel Unlimited now and read this. Somehow I missed it.
All right, so the next up we've got Action Comics number 975, signed by Dan Jurgens. And it is number 33 of 120 signed, and we have the one available for $19.38.
Ronald's mentioned it. We do get some really cool Layton stuff.
Yeah,
I remember a Bob Layton thing arrived here one day, like a year and a half ago. It's all packed. He opens it up or whatever, and it's like a recreation of Demon in a Bottle or something. And I think it was just for Nick, but I was like,
Creative Keep. Creative Keep. Did I miss something? What naming, my friend?
the Layton. There was a Layton Nick showed.
I don't even know what the price is on that.
Is he pre-claiming it for Friday night? That's what he's doing, right? Pre-claiming
I don't
it for
know.
Friday?
I don't know. Creative Keep, email us, buddy. All right. So then we've got our 3 Dynamite Virgin covers. All right. Well, let's get through the Dynamite, and then we'll do the Rex cap. We've got Cherish number 3, limited edition Virgin cover by Brett Booth.
Speaking of Brett Booth.
Suggested retail of $50, and we have the one available for $40. Hopefully Nick's reading the chat, buddy.
This is a character that's taken off Cherish. There's some new stuff that's being done right now that I'm glad to see it. People ask me, the Dynamite universe is expanding. That's awesome. I don't need it to be, 3 characters. If it's 20 characters, I'm super happy.
I really like this book, and Katana Collins, friend of our show, because we've had her on for a conversation, of course, a great writer who's writing this book, and our good buddy Joe Corallo is editing this book. So everybody that likes PCP should check this book out, because there are a lot of friends of PCP that are involved in this book.
It has a little bit of throwback energy to that sort of, I'm hesitant to say the 90s in image because people are going to start getting the wrong idea, but it has a little bit of that throwback energy. And I got to tell you, and I mean that in the best way possible.
It's got that Top Cow energy for sure, right? Because this character, was so created by Mark Silvestri. So that's like perfect.
I tell you, this is like the good side. I understand, especially for some of us old guys, image wasn't always the best, but when it was good, it was really, really, really good. And that's what there's, this kind of like, like Robbie said, this is Top Cow energy at its finest. I love this book.
All right. So then we have Vampirella Strikes number 9, limited edition Virgin cover by Lucio Perillo. Suggested retail of $50, and we have the one available for $40.
That's gorgeous. That's one of my favorite Perillo Vampirella covers I've seen. That's awesome.
You know what's super funny? I probably talked to Tom Stigowski too much. He's probably going to be filing a restraining order any day now. But he told me normally when he does books, he sort of, there's like a process where he plots this out. The Vampirella Strike story came to him all at once. He was like literally like, we were talking this and that. I guess, he was talking to Nick or Joe about what the next project is. And the whole thing comes to him at once. And him and Janine are up to like the middle of the night, whatever, getting all the cards and everything, all the ideas or whatever. And he said, that was kind of like, I thought it was a cool thing. I mean, this guy's been writing Vampirella since the 1990s. And to have that kind of different, energy, different, like a creative process after that long, I think that's very cool.
Yeah, he was writing it in Harris days, right? The Harris days.
Yes.
So the last book of the night, we've got Lord of the Jungle number 3, limited edition Virgin cover by Philip Tan and Sebastian Chang. It's just a retail of $50, and we have the one available for $40.
In a lot of the pulp Facebook groups, we're having this raging conversation about are the Tan covers better or are the Benito Gallego covers better? If you're one of the people that read Tarzan in the comic strip, the Benito Gallego art is what you're more used to, right? But the tan covers, Tarzan, Lord of the Apes. I mean, there's got to be an ape on the cover,
right?
And I got to tell you, this cover there's a couple of different variations of this cover too. This is one of these things where I wind up double and triple dipping, and yeah, Old Man Tarzan is sometimes the old man gimmick is a little tired. But in the case of Old Man Tarzan, we always see Tarzan in his prime, or we see the movie from when he's a little kid, right?
Right.
He's lost or whatever, and he grows up, and it's very almost sort of Jungle Book or Mowgli. Old Man Tarzan, seeing that's very, very cool. There's a line in there where it talks about the older animals are the deadliest because they're kind of at the end of the run. I really like that stuff.
All right, so let's do the Rex cap. All right, here we go. We've got Uncanny X-Men #1, Young variant, signed in gold by Scotty Young. Suggested retail of $89.99. We have the one available, signed in gold, 11 of 15, and it is a 5-star at $50 book. Then we have Young X-Men #10, signed by Billy Tan.
Good night, Ronald.
And we have #2 of only 25 signed, and we have one available for $19.99. Then we have the Batman Who Laughs #1, signed in gold by Scott Schneider. It's just a retail of $89.99. It is one of our 5-star at $50 books. It is number 28 of 90, signed in gold. Then we had Marvel Mystery Comics #1, 70th anniversary, signed by writer and former Marvel editor-in-chief Tom DeFalco. It is number 22 of 150, and we have one available for $19.87. Then we have Incredible Hulk's #611, signed in silver by Greg Pak, wraparound cover. It is number 24 of 50. It's just a retail of $69.99, and it is a ridiculously low price at $19.62. Then we have Silver Surfer #1, signed by Mike Allred. It's just retail of $29.99. We have the one available, number 21 of 325, available for $21. Then we have Action Comics #975, signed by Dan Jurgens, number 33 of 120. And we have one available for $19.38. Then we have the Fearless Defenders #1 and Uncanny X-Men #1, Hulk versus Namor, connecting sketch covers by Joe Del Beato and Mariano Nicieza. And we have this one available for $120 for both books. Then we had Batman Superman #30 with Batman and Robin cover sketch by Joe Del Beato and Mariano Nicieza. All right, Creative, you got it, buddy.
Yeah, that wraparound cover is crazy.
It is cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
All right,
that's
Creative,
a nice pickup.
you got it, buddy.
That's one of those books that every time you go in the room, you're kind of like, oh, this is nice.
All right, so Batman Superman #30. Cover sketch by Joe Del
homage.
Carmine Infantino homage. It's just a retail of $149.99, and we have it available for $79.99. Then we did Cherish #3, limited edition virgin cover by Brett Booth, and we have the one available for $40. Then we have Vampirella Strikes #9, limited edition virgin cover by Lucio Carrillo, and we have that one available for $40 as well. Then we have Lord of the Jungle #3, limited edition virgin cover by Philip Tan and Sebastian Chang, and we have that one available for $40 as well. Then we had Deadpool #1, CGC graded 9.8. It's just a retail of $99.99. It was the best offer book, but at this point, whoever claims it at 50 first, they walk away with it. Then we did Rocket Raccoon 2-pack. Includes Rocket Raccoon #1, Midtown exclusive J. Scott Campbell variant. And then Rocket Raccoon #1, blank variant, ultra limited edition gold signature, signed by Scotty Young and Ken Hazer, with a Rocket Raccoon sketch, obviously, by Ken Hazer. Suggested retail of $220, and we have the one available for $69.99. Then finally, we have the Marvel Mystery 5-pack. It includes Amazing Spider-Man #29, Mark Bagley, Champions #1, Mark Brooks, variant cover. That one is floating around in the wild for $75. Amazing Spider-Man #9, second appearance of Spider-Gwen, cameo appearance of Solus, and first appearance of Vernus Hounds, and that's floating around in the wild for $40. Then Storm #1 for $10, floating around in the wild for $10, and then Venom #35. And that variant cover is also floating around in the wild for $50. So you got one book for $50, one book for $40, another one for $75, and you get all 5 books for $100. All right.
And we had the Hobgoblin original.
And Jay, don't worry about the first offers. I took the best offer off on the Deadpool #1. So anybody claims it for $50, it's theirs.
Jay mentioned as soon as our show is over, a much better show is coming on with Jenna, and she's going to be talking about the Harris Comics era.
Oh, yeah.
Which
that
is
should be a good
very,
show.
very cool. One of the things I always talk about, and I'm always super grateful, Nick opening the door to me or whatever, there are binders of the Harris Comics here. And I always like to say I got to read everything. I mean, I had it, but I didn't get to read it. I didn't have to go through boxes or whatever. Harris wasn't here for a long time, but Harris was here for a good time. You get some amazing stories. You get, like some Adam Hughes covers. You get some very, very cool stuff in a relatively short period of time. The creators working on those books at the time really tried to make the character and the company work. Ultimately, things happen, whatever, but there's, in a very meta sense, you kind of have, I'm old, so I come in at the beginning at the Warren age, right? I'm old enough to remember when Vampirella was really just another Elvira. Then she becomes a full character. Then she kind of takes over that book, right? And then, she begins to have spinoff, whatever. And then eventually Warren ends, right? And you go through this period where there's no Vampirella. And it's, Harris eventually decides to get the rights. They're going to do it. And it happens in the 90s. And your first thought is, oh, God, it's going to be like an Image Vampirella swimsuit issue. And they knew that people had that vibe, so they took that energy and ran with it and said, yeah, we are going to give you a Vampirella swimsuit issue, but in it is going to be stories by guy, young Kurt Busiek or whatever, you know what I mean? Well, he wasn't that young, but, so there was some very, very, very cool stuff. What, Jay, did I see Kyle as a pancake show or something, or do I not understand that show at all? I just saw talk to Kyle and it's a pancake thing. It looks very cool.
Yeah. Dan Wickline made the show, and yeah, it looks like pancakes for the thumbnail, but it's hot takes with Kyle.
Oh, okay. See,
hot takes sounds very like hot cakes, and I'm obsessed with pancakes, so it works.
Gotcha. See, I was hoping it was like a cooking and barbecue show.
So, Robbie, what's going on for you tonight at 9?
Tonight we're doing our very first, believe it or not, Martin Scorsese film for PCP Movie Night, Taxi Driver.
Oh, Taxi Driver, right?
Taxi Driver.
That's right.
We really do creep on his social media feed way too much, man.
That's right. Well, that one hit a chord because I love that movie. That was a great Scorsese film.
I'll tell you this: it still holds up. Absolutely fantastic film. I cannot wait to unravel the insanity of that film.
I think to a certain extent it holds up better now than maybe even 10 years ago.
Maybe.
Like we've sort of come back around again. There's a movie called Falling Down that Michael Douglas did.
Yes, I remember that.
It came out and it was hot
Great
for
movie.
about 15 minutes.
That's why that movie is why a lot of people do breakfast all day long now.
And then all of a sudden you start to get to this era now after the pandemic or whatever, and you see Falling Down pop up at like 2 a.m. on TNT, and you're like, oh, and you see that it was a little bit maybe ahead of its time, avant-garde, whatever, but there's a relevance to it. And you absolutely have this, probably the best and first film of that energy is Taxi Driver.
Thomas Bishop, we need a 4K release of Taxi Driver.
Bye to everyone. Good night, Kenneth. Thanks for joining us.
See you, Kenneth.
Thomas, I like that idea.
But I'm a big fan of Scorsese's work. He's done some great stuff in his career, that's for sure.
Well, and did either of you guys go to New York during the 70s and the 80s? Like, because they're like, that's it. Like, that's what it felt like when it, like, in that Giuliani era where it was like grimy and seedy and sleazy. Was it right? It was like that for real, right?
It was like that. So
I remember being like 10 years old, and literally at that point at 10, I don't want to hold my mother's hand anymore. I'm like 10 years old, right? My mother would literally, we went up to Radio City Music Hall. She would not let me out of arm's length other than to sort of pass me over to my dad because people were like, relieving themselves against an alley wall.
Yeah. When I was little, I used to go to New York with my parents a lot, right? So they had friends there, whatever. And it felt like we were almost going every other weekend or whatever. Two things have changed, okay? So the Times Square area was completely seedy. Okay, with
it was very Escape from New York. If you've seen that movie,
yeah, peep shows and all kinds of stuff. So there was during the '80s a kind of revamping. So that's one thing that's changed for the better. The second thing, believe it or not, that's changed for the better. And you grew up in this area, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me if you don't remember this. So my dad had a 1967 Volkswagen Beetle, red,
nice,
cherry red. And if anybody knows about Volkswagen Beetles from that era, there was no air conditioning. Okay.
That window did not cut it.
So tell me if you don't remember this. As soon as you hit like exit 12 to exit 13, the stink, the massive stink, because there is nothing but oil like refineries around that area. And there was no environment, and you knew, and it would be summertime. It would be 90 degrees outside, and my mom would make us all roll up the windows, turning it into a convection oven in the car, right?
It was just,
but it was horrible. Through the years, they've cleaned that up.
Yeah, they have. There's
the
like
stink
state
is more
EPA,
or less gone.
The other EPA, they sort of said, "Look, man, you got to do business, but you just can't have sludge on the road."
Oh, it was bad.
People can't drive by.
Yeah, it was bad.
I remember that. You would not. I remember stopping and getting gas before we got there because my mother would refuse to stop and get out of the car. Right, so you go to a certain point, you get your gas, and then that would be it. And then you wouldn't gas up again until you were out of New York and back down the turnpike where you could breathe the air or the parkway.
The worst was the summer. When you didn't have an AC and you had to crank your windows down, as soon as you got to the Lincoln or Holland Tunnel, you had to roll them back up again.
Yeah,
because you would have passed out from the carbon monoxide fumes coming in.
I know they show these old things where people are driving in these tunnels or whatever. They're a stronger breed than we were, man. All I know is I give those people a lot of credit. I wouldn't have made it 500 feet with the window open in the Holland.
What was the Sylvester Stallone movie where the tunnel flooded? You remember? You know which movie I'm talking about?
Daylight, maybe?
I got to tell you, after that movie came out, the next time I drove to New York through the Lincoln Tunnel, I noticed that a lot of tiles were missing. Have you noticed that?
There's
whole sections of the tunnel where there's no tile anymore.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is daylight. By the way, I just looked it up. So
yeah, I remember that was like years and years. I would drive through the Lincoln Tunnel, the Holland Tunnel, and I would never notice.
Oh, thanks, Jay. I appreciate
that. Movie comes out. I'm driving like, holy crap! There are a lot of tiles missing, man. I hope this thing doesn't purpose bomb in the middle of the
closed at night now for that reason. They're like, it's kind of safe-ish, but we're going to close it at night. And I'm like, what about the people in the day? Everybody, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Check out Robbie's show. Robbie, thanks for slamming with
Driver,
us.
Great film.
Taxi Driver. As soon as we're done, Jenna's going to be talking about something near and dear to my heart, the Warren era.
And 9 o'clock tonight on Comic Art Live, raising money for Fat Jack.
Thank you, Nick.
There you go.
So you've got some
plenty to do tonight.
You got programming options tonight.
All right. Thank you for everybody who joined us. Lyle, buddy, stay warm, man. All right. That's all I can think about. I don't know, man. Don't freeze to death.
I can't watch The Thing without thinking of Lyle now. Like that opening scene, we're in the Arctic. I'm like, oh, there's Lyle in his house,
I mean,
man.
where Lyle's working, it's like you could go outside for 10 minutes. You could die of exposure. I mean, that's for real there. All right, so thank you, everybody. We'll be back Wednesday.
We'll be back
6
Wednesday.
p.m.
Nick will be here Friday.
Check out Robbie's show.
Thank you, Jay, for pushing the buttons and everything.
Thanks, Jay.
Have a
we'll
great
catch
night,
everybody
everybody
on Wednesday. Thanks, everyone.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.